So, welcome to our webinar this afternoon. My name is Chris Fordy. I'm really looking forward to welcoming you to our presentation today, Make Your Business Work for You in 2021 and beyond. So, just a little bit before we start, as we move on, a little bit about me. My business background started when I became joint third employee of a company with a tech business based in Harrogate. The four of us grew that up to 100 people, over 100 people, 12 million turnover. We were mainly working in the power industry. We ended up growing that and selling it to Siemens in 2002. So what felt like a fairly successful business career at that point. We were doing 30 to 40% growth over the 12 years. I founded a division of that business towards the second half of our growth, where we were focusing on the trading of power at the wholesale level. Now that business grew at 400% a year for 3 years. We went from 0 to 4 million turnover in 2.5. I recruited 50 people in that very short period of time, about 18 months. Most were great, some weren't so good. One was unfortunately a psychopath and ended up nearly killing me. The business nearly killed me. The fella nearly did as well, because the psychopath was also a bodybuilder. There might have been a connection there, I don't know. But the challenge I had during that process was growing the business around me. I didn't do it all, but I had to tend to control everything. And as the business grew, the challenge was I had three choices: either to allow it to either holding back its growth because I was controlling it, to learn some of the things we're going to talk about today, to gracefully delegate and help great people grow the business instead of me, or to allow it to pull me apart. And unfortunately, I chose that third option for a little while, and the business did nearly kill me at one point. Now, it's a great story now, but for a couple of years after selling the business, I used to look in the mirror every day, and I would have traded all the money I'd made from the sale of the business to have had my life back for that 3-year period. I was working 100-hour weeks, didn't see a lot of my family, and life wasn't great. So my goal now as a business coach, I became a business coach 16 and a half years ago, was to help people grow businesses, but to enjoy the process, not just the outcome. I think too many people think, great, we'll put our life on hold for 10 years and hope the money might turn up later. For me, if everyone in an organization is enjoying themselves, we get them happier, more effectively, and probably more profitable. So that's what I like to do. I love to present the things we're going to talk about today. A couple of my key favorite quotes there: fall down 7 times, get up 8. I think that is a great strategy for success. It's okay to fall down as long as I keep getting up. And I think Henry Ford there, a classic: whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. And I think as a coach, as well as being a business coach, a coach is helping people form that positive mental attitude that we can achieve what we choose to want to achieve. And for me, anyone that chooses to start or grow or be responsible for the growth of a business deserves to get the rewards for taking those steps and taking those risks. So whatever we can do today to help you guys to grow your business to the next level, please use the chat box to communicate. We may unmute 1 or 2 people later on, just have a quick chat, but please engage with what we do. The more you engage today, the more you're going to get out of the session. Now, one of the goals we set a few years ago as a business was to create 100 millionaires in Yorkshire, and also by doing so create 1,000 jobs. Now we're on number 18. I think we're actually just about to qualify the 19th in Yorkshire, the 19th millionaire that we've helped to grow. So we're getting there quite close. These are 1 or 2 of the people that we've worked with previously. 2 or 3 there have already built their businesses and sold them. Some retain their businesses, but with a very significant passive income. So for me, it's all about the people in the business, not just the owners, but also the key team members. Now we've obviously over the last 14 months had some real challenges going on in the world, and I think a lot of us in our businesses and certainly in the businesses we've worked with have had to change quite significantly often to achieve and continue to achieve the successes they do and that they deserve. And I think that this quote from Charles Darwin is great, that it's not the strongest or the most intelligent of the species that survives, but the ones most adaptable to change. And I think being open to change is one of the key attributes of successful entrepreneurs and business leaders. So I'm keen to know, is anyone in the comment who would feel that they're actually adaptable to change in general? If you want to make any comments, or put your hand up and say that you are, because if you are, you're in the right place. Great, Vicky definitely is. Thank you, Vicky. Let's move on. So we're going to talk about business growth. We're going to talk about growing the business in 2020 and beyond. I'm really keen just to get a little bit of feedback from you guys right now. Even old timer like you could adapt, Rob. Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. So just keen, if anyone would like to put in the comments, what are some of the challenges you're facing right now? We're going to try and cover one or two of those specifically for you guys. We've also got some structures and some strategies we want to show you to help you grow the business and take the business to the next level. But if you'd be kind enough, in the chat box, just put in that box, what are your biggest challenges? What would you like to learn from today? So I'll give you a quick second just to type that in. I know typing always takes a bit longer for me. So is there anything particularly? What's the reason you're here today? Just waiting for those to come through. Good at getting new clients, but then retaining them. So client retention really key. Fantastic, Rob. Yeah, it's a challenge with many businesses, and I guess probably the challenge that many of us face right now is we're working with a lot more businesses now, clients we've never actually physically met. So client retention in a virtual world probably has some difference to client retention in a more physical world. So I could totally understand that would be the case. We're going to talk a little bit about client retention a bit later on. But while you're just typing those things in, for us, the three biggest frustrations and challenges with businesses and business owners that we typically find boil down to three key areas. One is not having enough time to grow our businesses. Because for me, growing a business and running it are two separate things. So only having enough time to run it typically means it stays where it is. So adapting so that we've got more than enough time. So here's the deal. What would it feel like to have more than enough time to focus on growth of the business? Not enough, but more than enough. Because that opportunity just to sit back in your chair, feet on the desk, and think about the future is absolute gold dust, is worth many, many times the activity levels we often take just getting stuff done. Focusing on just doing stuff, doesn't always help us to focus on growth. Sounds fictional. It sounds fictional. What, having more than enough time, Dave? Absolutely. For me, having more than enough time to grow is absolutely key. We're interested that one of the biggest challenges we find most people say is, I just haven't got enough time for that. Well, that's nuts, because time is our greatest asset. A very wise man once told me, once I've spent all my money, I can always make some more. But once I've spent my time, it's gone forever. So how I spend my time, for me, is the most important thing. Whether it's in business or in life, that's the most important thing, is how I spend my time. So getting time back to have more than enough time to grow is key. Now, the second one, often in businesses we find, is team, is recruiting, rewarding, and retaining great people. Because great businesses are built on great teams. I would like to think everyone here would agree that. I know certainly I've got one or two team members on this call. Without team, we have no growth. Now, to have a great team, looking inwardly, we've got to be great leaders. We've got to be attractive. Both ourselves and the business have got to be attractive to attract and recruit the best people. And again, we do a lot of work with our clients on helping them build a team, and also have an organizational structure so everyone on the team knows what they should be doing, knows what everyone else in the team is doing, and can report and communicate effectively. And finally, hopefully most of us don't have a money challenge, but money is the language of business. So if we're not making enough money or more than enough money to fulfill the rewards of the things we want to achieve from it, then getting more money is one of the challenges that many of the people we work with face. Is anybody else, I asked you slightly earlier, is there any other challenges? We're going to talk about time, team and money shortly, but if anyone's got any other challenges, please put them in the chat box and we'll do our best to address them as we move forward. So we're going to talk about those three challenges and some of the simple tools and strategies we can use to overcome those challenges and to build a structure for a true business. So often most businesses we meet, if you consider that the three key pillars of a strong, successful business is the financial side, the sales and marketing, and the operations, then any business that's imbalanced, has weakness in one particular area, is typically going to be an unstable structure. So actually moving from something like that, and it doesn't have to be that we're strong in operations and less in marketing, sales and finance. It could be weak in operations but great in sales. So it depends on any particular business. But building the business so it becomes 3 solid foundations at which the structure can grow is key. So the things we often help people achieve through the coaching programs that we run and the webinars that we run as a complimentary level is get some clarity on what we need to do. Be focused on achieving the actions that we need to take to get those things done. And the visibility through effective reporting and key performance indicators to know that things are working. And finally, that will help us get the results that we choose to have. Rob, outsourcing social media marketing. That will be a challenge. I can totally understand that. I think with anything that's outsourced, I would strongly recommend master it first. Now, you may, if that makes sense. So we don't have to do it, but master it. Know enough to ask great questions of the people we're outsourcing to. Make sure that they understand what your successful outcomes are so that they can help you achieve your goals. I think without a level of understanding what the targets are, the goals are, and a monitoring process where they're reporting to us, we tended to be abdicating more than delegating, if that makes sense. So for me, abdicating is when you're good at that, get on with it, whether that's external or internal. There's a lot of abdication goes on within a business where we recruit somebody or we promote somebody into a role and we expect them just to get on with it without necessarily a level of interaction, a level of goal setting, and a level of planning with them. So those are three key areas that the business needs to be strong on to grow effectively. Us as leaders, there's 3 other areas. So there's leadership for vision, for purpose, for culture, for engaging great people, leading a great team. Management for me is getting people to do the right things in the right quantities effectively. So leadership is about gaining hearts and minds. Management is about getting effective people doing the right things at the right time. And finally, coaching is about getting the best out of each individual. So management is getting to make sure they do things right. Coaching is about helping them increase their own personal performance. And if we do that with every team member, obviously the whole team is going to be high performing. Now, this is a graph that I've developed over time, and I've certainly seen that in my businesses, but I've seen it in many, many businesses we both work with and some that unfortunately we don't because they never really get to the point of breakthrough. So if a normal business growth curve looks like this, anything that increases by the same % every year actually will grow exponentially. So if naturally a business follows a curve of this type, what we typically see at the start is we're in establishment and survival mode. So we are all about being totally focused on making sure we don't make any bad decisions. Any bad decision at this phase can be fatal for the business. So it's really being keen on what the costs, keeping the costs down, watching the decisions we make, and we need to be that mode at that point. But as we start to get through growth, the challenge we have is we get more business, we've got to do more business, we need to think about how to do things differently. Now we get to a point, and I call it the limit, you can get to a certain level of business growth with a few good people and sheer blood and guts. You don't need a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about today, the systems, the structures, the ways of working effectively for leveraged growth. You can get to a certain level. The challenge is you get there by just working really, really, really hard. So I don't know if any of you guys are at that point right now or have been at that point. You just get to a certain point by working really hard. The challenge at this limit point is if the growth of the business is directly related to how hard I work, once I've run out of time and energy, I can't grow that business any further. Even 10% growth requires a mindset change to do things differently. So if we don't, so basically we hit resource limitation, whether that's our own time or the number of key people we have in a business. But mindset limitations, if the growth to that stage is just about working really hard, that's probably why we don't have the time to think and to spend on focusing on growth. If we don't therefore change our mindset, we may not grow, we may not break through to go to the next level. And we do a lot of work on the coaching part of what we do, which is very much a mindset change with the people we work with. If we don't break through, unfortunately, we tend to decline. Because for me, the growth of a business is directly related to the energy and the engagement of its key people. So if we're starting to lose engagement, energy, enthusiasm, guess what? That's going to turn up in the business results. So really, if you're at this point, or you're coming to this point, or you've been at that point, if we don't break through and change fundamentally how we think, and we're going to talk about that in the second half of the presentation, if we don't change how we think, then we're not going to do things differently to get different results. So for us, it's all about structure and mindset. Now we're going to talk in the next 20 minutes or so about structures for growing a business effectively, structures for making more profit, but then we're going to talk a bit about mindset, about the mindset changes we need to make to do things differently to get different results. Any questions so far? Appreciate any comments you've got. If we're making sense, or if you think it's a load of rubbish, just throw some comments in, just so we know we're on the right page. Make sure you know you're in the right presentation. So if you're kind enough, I'm just going to let your comments go in there at the moment, and we'll just go to the next slide. So what we're going to talk about now, good, thanks Dave. What we talk about now is a very straightforward, simple structure, good presentation, yeah, right presentation, that's right. Is a simple structure to create what we believe is a true business. The definition of a true business is a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without its owners or key leaders. See, if it depends on you and your time, it is going to be limited over time. So does that make sense? Has anyone got a challenge with the idea that ultimately, if you're the owner or the leader of your business, the business should work without you? Anyone got a problem with that? Not seeing that so far. So we're going to talk about, now I just want to be clear on this. It's a choice. This is about creating choice about how and when you work in your business. Because some people we meet absolutely love aspects of what they do, and they've never got any intention of not working in their business. But there's often lots of stuff that they choose not to do. If they could, they would choose not to do. And this model allows us all to choose the things we want to do and delegate to other great people the things we don't. So simple model. This is a 6-step process we have. And I'm just going to talk you through it fairly quickly, just to give you an idea of some of the principles behind this. Now, this is a real, very skim over what is a very, very in-depth, detailed system that we typically takes anything from 6 to 12 to 18 to 24 months to implement to get effective growth. So this is just a whistle-stop tour, but to give you some key ideas. Now, one thing we're going to do at the end for coming on board today, we're going to offer you a growth session with myself or one of my coaching team to help you implement some of these strategies specifically in your business. Okay, so we're going to talk about generalities today. So feel free to ask any questions or talk about how this may or may not work within your business or how you feel about that. But at the end of today, we're going to offer you to have a growth session. I think one or two of you already got them booked in. So please take advantage of that to ask the questions about how this might work for you. So let's start with mastery level. Mastery is about going from chaos to control and gives you stability in the business. So if you think about mastery being the foundations of a building, the stronger the foundations, the higher the building can be and the more secure and stable it is. Now, there's 4 levels of mastery. One is time mastery, getting your time back, as we said before, to have more than enough time to focus on growth. Because if we don't have enough time, growth is less likely to happen. The second one is really key. It's destination mastery. Where are we going? What's the end goal that we're all heading towards? Because if you don't know where you're going, then how do you know the decisions you're making today are the right ones? Does that make sense? Absolutely fundamental. If you don't have a goal, I've met 1 or 2 people recently, and it's well, I'll come to that. Someone was talking about having an exit strategy. When I want to exit, I'll get an exit strategy. For me, well, if I don't know what an exit strategy is now, how do I know I'm moving the business towards allowing that to happen? In fact, we see often people creating more and more, embedding themselves more and more into business that they expect to leave in 2 years' time. And that's pretty nuts if you think about it logically. So what's the end product? Not just for ourselves, but for the business, because if we're going to recruit and retain great people, they want to know where the bus is going. If you like, I think Tom Peters, going back to the 80s, talked about great businesses are about having the right people on the bus. Even further than that, the right people in the right seats on the bus. But vision for me, destination mastery, is about what's it say on the front of the bus. Where's the bus going? Now, if you haven't got something on the front of the bus telling people where it's going, in effect, what you're saying is it's a magical mystery tour. Now, some people might be engaged with a magical mystery tour. I get that. But are they really the people that you want to take your business forward? So what's on the front of your bus? Where are we going? So that's destination, time, destination mastery. Financial and numbers mastery is about knowing all the key numbers, and many of them are financial, but there's also marketing, sales, customer delight numbers that tell us that the business is both successful now and will continue to be successful in the future, because we've got some forward indicators as well as lagging indicators of where the business is. Now, if we don't have key reports, so just a quick yes or no or hands up, who has effective monthly management reports, including management accounts? Who currently has effective management reporting in their business to tell them where the business is right now? Not seeing anything at the moment. Hopefully one or two if you do, but it's not surprising. Great, we've got a no there. We've got a hand up there, Catherine, well done. That's great. So we now know where we are. Now, lots of businesses don't. And the key thing is, if we don't know where we are, we don't know if we're healthy or not healthy. Many people we meet actually don't have accounts till the end of the year end, and typically they're not produced for 6 months after the year end. So that means we won't know for 18 months whether we're actually successful right now. Pretty nuts. But so well done, Catherine, for you having those accounts. Now, the challenge though is that they are where we are right now and where we've come from. So who else? I'll just put your hand down, Catherine, just to see if it stays up after this, or hands down. Who here has forward plans and forecasts for the business for the next 3 months on cash, 12 months on profit? So 3-month cash flow forecast, 12-month profit forecast. Catherine does too. Well done, Catherine. A round of applause. Dave, you have. Brilliant. So we've got some forward looking. Now, if we don't, one or two don't, that's totally understandable. If we only have reporting, i.e. what we're looking backwards, it's a bit like driving the car, only looking in the rear view mirror. We think we're going on the road because the road's behind us, therefore it feels like it's forward, but we can't see the bend of the road coming up. So these sorts of indicators are absolutely key to knowing that we're going to be successful. And that's what financial numbers mastery are about. Last level is delivery mastery. So that's making sure we put in quality into everything we do. So we're systemizing all the customer interfaces, whether that's marketing, sales, or delivery of our product or service, because without those, we're not creating consistency, which is quality. So that's mastery level, which gives us stability. We go to the next level of niche, which is about predictable, significant cash flow increase, cash flow profit increase. So niche for me is about our points of difference. It's about identifying what makes us different and makes us special, and then marketing that to our key clients, and also identifying the clients and prospects that would most benefit from what makes us different. So that perfect match of finding people that really value what we do differently is really going to create a whole bunch of A-grade clients that are going to love what we do, pay on time, keep coming back and recommend us to other people. But without marketing what makes us different, then we just get that random distribution of a few good ones, whole bunch of average, some really crappy ones, and some ones we would wish we never met. So USPs and guarantees are what help us create a strong niche. Niche level is also where we talk about the 5 key drivers for profit that we're going to talk about shortly, that help us significantly increase profit using 284 profit generation strategies that we have within our business. So we can help grow each part of those. So we're going to come onto those shortly. So we've got business that's stable. We've got a business now that's got great profit and cash. Next level is leverage. Leverage is about systemizing the rest of the business, create a completely systemized business where great people are using systems to create great profit and cash. Now, the challenge we often have as we grow our business, and this is where, as you'll see in the model that we have, leverage comes before team. So before we start recruiting significant numbers of people, we need to make sure we've got the systems in place. Because if we haven't got the systems in place, although we think by recruiting people we're going to get our time back, because I'm busy, let me get some people on board, I'll have more time, we're just going to recruit more people to ask us what to do next and how to do it. Because we haven't trained them, they've got no system to follow, they're just going to come back to us. And I remember going back a very long time and saying, I've been doing this 16 years, probably 14 years ago. I explained that to somebody and he said, you're absolutely right, Chris. That happens in my business. I ask them to do stuff. They just come back and say, don't know what to do, how to do it. I end up doing it for them. And so I call my team a paid audience, which is pretty nuts, but it happens. If we don't systemize effectively and train our team effectively, then, and that's the leverage level, then before we recruit a team, then we're going to have those problems. So having systemized the business, we can get to team level, and that's where we've got a real structure for growth. So this is where we can attract, recruit, reward, and retain brilliant people who are aligned with our vision, and probably even more importantly, our values. So what makes us different, for me, is based around the key values or culture within a business, and we want to recruit people with a match of culture. Because for me, good relationships come with a match of goals, great relationships come with a match of values. So are we marketing effectively for people, and that not just team, but also customers and suppliers, to our values match, not just our goals match? But at team level, we look at organizational design and development. We've got some great people in our team that help our clients do that. That's getting whole organizational structure, roles and responsibilities, how-to manuals about how to do the work, making sure we've got a complete reporting and key performance indicator structure so that everybody knows what's going on, everybody knows what's expected of them, and can show that they're hitting their goals and targets. So once all that's in place, we're able to move to the synergy level. We've got a well-oiled machine, and what we can do at this point is recruit a general manager or managing director to run the business on our behalf. So at this point, this might take a year or even 18 months to find them, recruit them, train them, and delegate effectively. So then the general manager will manage the team using the systems, maximizing the niche to create great profit and cash. So that means we can move up to the results level, which is we've got a commercial profitable enterprise that works without us. We can take passive income from this business without needing to work in it. So we've got time, but we've also got the money and the growth of profit coming through. So we've got that. Or obviously at this point, we can choose to sell, but just so we're all clear, the value of a business that's proven to be independent of its owners and its key players is significantly higher than one that's dependent on its owners, because people don't want to buy your job. Now, we've worked with many accountants, and our own experiences are that we're talking about significant. This could be 3 to 5 times more valuable than a business that's dependent on you. So the virtuousness of creating a business that works without you is not just good for your team, because they then get to have a career progression all the way up to board level. You get to have a business that can work without you. Any questions on that? Just be keen to take any questions if anyone's got them. Either type them in or bob your hand up and we can happily unmute you. And if not, we'll start talking about profit. Hopefully you're all still with me and this is useful. Is everyone still finding this valuable? Cool. Good. Right, well, let's start talking about profit, because hopefully most of us here are there to make more profit. 100%. Thanks, Matt. That's wonderful. Good to hear. Thanks, Mark. So just to give you an idea, these are some of the businesses we work with to help to grow into true businesses. Here, a good example here, you might have seen Garrett on the previous photo slide. He's the guy with the helicopter in the middle of the screen. And he built a business with the guy at the back here, Dan. They built that up to, I think when we started working with them, there were 8 people. But within 4.5 years, we had 48 people. That was part of that team structure, which was being really key. And we grew to profits 10 times over that 4.5 years. Ultimately, Gary has sold his business to Dan because Dan wanted to take it further. Gary was happy where he was, and he's now, one of the things he learned to do was fly helicopters as a result. So that's a model of creating the business that was working without Gary so he could exit. And true also, Coulter's over here. This is Reuben Barrett, who was also on the slides earlier, who I managed to get some skiing done just before lockdown last year in Canada. He grew a stage agency business with an amazing team, and I was lucky enough to poach Vicky here, who worked for Reuben at that point, is now working with me in the organisational design and development team. Hello, Vicky. Yes, Vicky's just saying hello at the moment. And again, that business was sold to Linley & Simpson probably best part of 2 years ago now, although time, I always, not sure of time. But those two guys primarily have built and sold. This business was built and retained by, this is Branson Wilson, by Christopher Wilson, the owner. Now, he's not in the picture because he doesn't run the business anymore. It's run by this guy, Scott Billington, who's the MD. So Christopher typically is able to spend time doing things he loves. He loves to travel. He spends quite a lot of time in Thailand. and he's able to do that. He comes to monthly board meetings, whether that's physically or virtually, and he's got a business that he keeps, and it's now in its 30th year. So there's different ways to grow any business, but these are all physical businesses that have grown and are growing in Yorkshire. Let's talk about profit. Just to make sure, anyone here not want to make any more profit, assuming that it doesn't cost any more time? Just checking, you're in the right place still. Good. Now the challenge we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about ways to increase number of customers, our revenues, and our profit being the key for me. I was taught a long time ago, turnover for vanity, profit for sanity, and cash flow for reality, actually, which is also really key. So we're going to talk about making more profit, but most businesses know how many customers they got, what their revenue or turnover is, and how much profit they make. But the challenge is these are all outcomes. These are things that we make from the work we do within the business. We can't directly affect them. You can't go to a turnover shop and buy turnover. So we're going to talk about breaking the business down into 5 key areas, or 5 key elements that affect those 3 outcomes that we probably want more of. So this is the simple structure. We call it our business chassis. You can see the 3 numbers in red are the customers' net sales or revenues, and gross profit or net profit. It's obviously they're different, but it depends what we focus on with a particular client. And what the key issue is, you can't affect the 3 in red. You change them by affecting the 5 in blue. And the great thing is we've got 284 strategies across the 5 areas in blue that work across business and across industries and across the world. So here's how it works. The number of customers we have is a function of the number of leads we generate multiplied by our sales conversion rate, how good we are at converting someone that's interested in what we do to become a client. Hopefully this makes sense. This structure, when I first was taught this as a new ActionCOACH, was totally revelationary for me. We got to 12 million turnover, and all we just used to say is, we need more business. That was it. That was our marketing strategies. It was nuts. We never broke the business down into this level, and I find this fascinating. So customers is a function of how many leads we generate from our marketing multiplied by our sales conversion rate. If that makes sense. So I'm going to give you an example shortly to see how this works. The amount of revenue we generate or sales is a function of how many customers we have multiplied by the average number of times they buy from us in a year, multiplied by the average sale. Now, obviously, different businesses have different types of clients with different amounts of investment levels, but as an average, this is how we would get from customers to turnover. And then for turnover to profit, we multiply by profit margin, how effective we are at turning retaining some of the cash from the investment that people pay us. So they pay us an amount of money, we spend some of that money to produce the product that they bought, and whatever's left is our profit. So that however effective we are at doing that will make us more profit. So hopefully that makes sense. Please put your hand up or put any comments in if you've got any questions, but this gives you an example. So this is just a sample business. It might be like yours, it might be not. In this business, they get 4,000 leads. They've got a 25% conversion rate. So the number of customers in this business is 1,000. In this business, they spend twice a year and they spend 100 quid. So the business is turning over £200,000. Profit margins are 25%. So the profit is £50,000. Everyone okay with that? Anybody challenged by that idea that we could help you to put this into your place in your business, or you could work out those numbers? I'll take any comments as we go through. Now, the thing that I love about this is the most powerful part of what we're going to talk about right now, is just by making 10% changes in the 5 areas in blue, we can make massive changes in the 5 areas in red because of the rule of compounding. So let me take you through how that works. This is the business as it stands. So we're going to do some work. So a number of leads. Anyone struggle or challenged by the idea that we could maybe get 10% more leads from the marketing that you do? You could potentially just do 10% more, but that's probably ineffective. There's probably efficiencies we can make in the marketing spend at the moment. Many businesses don't measure their marketing well enough to know where their marketing spend is best made. The challenge is 80% of marketing doesn't work. And worse than that, most people don't know which 80%. So if you were to know which 80% didn't work, or more importantly, the 20% that works best, how about reinvesting more of the money in that 20%? Would you think that might get us at least 10% more marketing? There's ways of actually learning to do better marketing pieces. There's different ways of working. USPs and guarantees come into place in marketing as well as sales. They will help us increase our marketing capability, and in this case, it's increased by 10%. And sales conversion rate, do you think we could be a bit more effective at selling? Could we actually, here's the deal, when was the last time you or your sales team went on a sales training course? Very rarely do we find people that have been on a course for within the last 6 months or a year. Often people have never been on a sales training course, they're just good with people. So how about if we put some structure in place, some training, some scripting, some structures, made some special offers, made it easier for people to buy from us? Do you think maybe we could get 10% more conversion rate? I'm assuming the answer is yes. That gives us, because of the compounding, 21% more clients straight away. So all of a sudden, we've already got, just by working on 2 key areas with 10% growth, we've now got 21% increase in customers. And similarly, could we get customers to come back a bit more often? Could we ask aged clients that haven't bought for a while to come back, give them a special offer for coming back in? Could we make sure that our customer service and our client engagement, going back to what Rob said earlier about keeping clients, if we improve that process, do you think we get people to buy more often and come back more regularly? In this example, just 10% more. And when they come back, do you think maybe we could get them to buy just that little bit more? Add on some added value to what they do, maybe buy a little bit more, maybe do some offers where people are buying a bit more for a better deal. Bundling things is a great way of getting people to spend a little bit more when they buy by giving them added value. So again, do you think maybe we could get them to spend that a little bit more? If we did, then the compounding effect now means that we've got £292,820, which is a 46% increase in turnover. So when I first saw this, it totally blew me away, because it's a simple process by which we can significantly grow our business, because we're only talking about 10% changes. And finally, could we get 10% more efficiency out of our business? Could we make things work better? Could we look at the costs? Could we make our teams be more effective? And if so, our profit, as you can see, is £80,525.50. That's a 61% increase in profit. 61%, guys, just for looking at 5 key areas, increasing them by 10%. For me, this is a real bit of gold dust right there. Anyone got any questions or any comments on that? We're just keen to make sure we're all together on this. I'll leave you to put that in. While you're putting your comments in or any questions, just a quick question before we talk about mindset. If we've talked about 10% increase in the blue areas, but what do you think the £50,000 would be? And this is just want some guesses here, so just type this into the chat box. If we doubled each of those 5 areas, so 4,000 became 8,000, 25% became 50%, 2 became 4. Just what would £50,000 profit become by doubling? So just put your guesses in the chat box. I'd really like to get some participation, guys. Make sure you're still awake and alert, and this is good for you. So what number do you think profit would go to from £50,000? Let's get some guesses at least in the chat box, please. 150k, Rob. £250,000, Matt. Thank you very much for participating. If I was to tell you it was 1.6 million, would that excite you a little bit more? Because it excites the hell out of me, I have to say. It's a 32 times increase by doubling those 5 things. Now, right now, you might say, yeah, that's a bit of a push. And let's be honest, if your conversion rate's above 50%, you can't double it. But you could probably treble, quadruple our lead generation. This is what we did. The key thing to understand is this could be what's achievable in our businesses with some effort. And for anyone that says that's a big jump, doubling, if you were comfortable with 10%, let's hope you are, let's be clear, 10% increase a year for 7 years is doubling something. So we're not talking about getting rich quick necessarily, but as somebody asked Brad Sugars, I found it, he often gets people come up and say, how do I get rich quick, Brad? How do I get rich quick? And he says, how quick is 7 years compared to never? So this is consistent activity, focus and effort in key areas of our business to significantly increase profitability and turnover in number of clients. Any questions on that? Any comments? Thank you for everyone participating. I'm going to, just while you're putting those in, we're now going to talk a bit about mindset. I think you talked earlier about that growth curve, and if we don't actually change how we think, how our mind works, we may not, we focus less on just doing more, to take a step back and focus on how we might be able to grow differently. Things won't change. And a simple formula we have is something called B times do equals have. And let me just take you through that, because this is where mindset comes in. And this is the key part for me of coaching, the coaching part of business coaching. What we've talked about so far is system strategies. We've done a whistle stop tour across them, but they all exist, and we can take you through them at your coaching session or your growth session. This is now talking about mindset, which is the key part. And it really, in all honesty, for me, the change we get in businesses is probably more significant for the mindset change in the people we work with than it is just in implementing some more effective systems and strategies. So let's talk about B times do equals have. So most people operate this formula for much of their lives. Some people operate forever. If I focus on what I want to have, I focus on what I need to do to have it. So do something, get something, do something, get something. So if I want to have more, I typically focus on just doing more. So if I want to make more money, let's just work harder. Let's work longer hours. Now, we know that works. The challenge is it is limited. Ultimately, we've only got 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There is clearly got to be a limit in what we can have if we just focus on what we want to do. So this is where we need to think about who we need to be to do things differently, more effectively, to have more. Does that make sense? So rather than just think about do, now we know that we've got a multiplication factor there. So clearly, if we do nothing, if do is 0, then we'll be 0. If you do nothing, you get nothing. We know that. But my proposition to you is the same is true of B. If our B is really low and we just focus on doing the work, the delivering the business, if anything is 0 or close to 0, we can do lots of stuff, but we're not doing it in the right place, we're probably not going to have a lot. So upgrading our B, our identity as a business owner, our knowledge as a business owner, the key thing is the amount we earn is directly related to the amount we learn. And learning is a key factor of most of the most successful people that we engage with and we learn from ourselves. So here's an example of that. And I'm going to get you to engage with just a bit of a guess shortly in the chat box. So get ready with your fingers. If you take someone like, let's say, Richard Branson, who most people consider to be a successful entrepreneur, I think he's worth about, last time we looked, it's about 4.6 billion, something like that. I probably will have changed a little bit over the last 12 months. Now, he's taken about 50 years to get to that level, about 50 years to get to 4.6 billion, from being a teenager up through to being in his 70s now. If from some strange act of God, everything disappeared overnight, so he lost all his cash, disappeared from the bank, businesses went overnight, as Richard Branson, how long do you think he would take, given it took him 50 years to get to 4.3 billion so far, how long do you think it would take to get back to about 4.3 billion? So I want to just quick answers on a postcard in the chat box for now. So let's just see what you think. So how long would it take? It would take 50 years to get to 4.6. 7 years, Matt. Yeah, I think that's great. 2 years, Catherine. Brilliant. 5 to 10, Rob. Yeah, I've had anything down to 18 months. I honestly believe it could be no more than 2 or 3 meetings. See, if you're Richard Branson, you say, look, I want to borrow $1 billion. What's the problem? That's nothing to do with the do. That's about who he is. And that's been developed over time. I can guarantee he definitely wouldn't start by selling records out the back of a van to cheat the VAT, because this is about his be, not his do. So that's a key part of us developing as business owners and business leaders to actually focus on who we are and what we know to do things differently. And that's where be, do, have comes in. Hopefully that makes sense. So thanks for participating. So key thing is, what's our mindset? What does need to develop in us? So maybe make a note. What some of the things we might change about how we think, and what some of the things we might change about what we need to learn to be the person we need to be, to do the things we need to do, to have the result that we really choose to have. Cool. So just a little bit about different levels of B, of identity of business owners. This is just something we call our entrepreneurial agile. I think it's quite interesting just to think about these processes. Similar to building a business, we need to build ourselves. So most of us, if you think about our careers, most of us start as a student, whether it's in school and or college, and ultimately most people, having become a student, will end up working for somebody else as an employee. Now, I know about 8 people now, I've met 8 people over time that went straight into business from being a student, but not many do. We typically work for somebody else. It's actually a good opportunity to learn skills that we probably need for being a business owner, but it's okay to work for somebody else. Ultimately, if we're good at what we do, we've got enough business, we become subject to what Michael Gerber calls the entrepreneurial myth, the E-myth. We stop working for an idiot and we start working for a lunatic, i.e. ourselves. So we start doing the work ourselves. We probably get paid a bit more because we're taking the money directly. Now, if we get better and better and what we do is really good, we typically, ultimately, to service our clients, we need to recruit people and employ people. So we need to develop management skills. So self-employed, we don't necessarily need management skills, but once we start to recruit and retain people, we need to be a manager and understand management skills. And then, as we've talked about in the 6 steps, to create a business that works without us, we need the business management skills and the business management identity of being comfortable that we're going to delegate, in effect, the running and growth of a business to other people. That's, again, another mindset shift. That allows us to become an investor. An investor, in our definition of investor, is someone that invests their own money to get a return. So they make money by investing their own money. But ultimately, a real entrepreneur, a true entrepreneur for us, is somebody that's demonstrates their ability, for instance, by growing their business. An entrepreneur can actually make money by investing other people's money. Because if you imagine if you can demonstrate the skill sets of growing a business, other people will invest in you and with you. And that's where real entrepreneurship comes in. I think entrepreneur can be an overused word, but in this context, for us, it's somebody that uses other people's money to make money. Hopefully that makes sense. So I'd be keen to know, if you want to make a comment, where do you feel you are right now in that process? For me, it's a never-ending learning journey of developing ourselves and the skills we need to move to different levels. And some of the things we do at the moment is with our clients and with ourselves is looking at business acquisitions and mergers. That is another key way, is probably a more leveraged way to grow businesses over time more rapidly. Again, that requires a change and upshift in different identities. Any questions on that? Hopefully this is all useful. We've got a few more slides to go. Thank you so much for staying with us. Hopefully this is useful and exciting. Certainly exciting for me. I love presenting this stuff because it really is just a reminder for myself as a business owner and an investor that there is so much opportunity out there if we choose to look at taking advantage of it. So, just as we move to a few more concepts and a few more slides, I'm just keen. Hopefully, this is valuable so far, and I know it's been very much whistle stop and scraping the surface. Make what's the number one thing you've taken away so far from what we've presented? We've talked about the 6 steps to growing a great business, the 5 ways to make profit. We've talked about the entrepreneurial ladder. We've talked about the be, do, have of what we need to, of upgrading our be to naturally do things to have more. What so far? And added to that, any questions that we can help you with? So I'm just going to ask you just to type anything in the chat box about your number one action, what you're going to do so far as a result of what you've learned. Upgrade your be and change your mindset, Rob. Brilliant. Well, look, let's make sure we catch up and talk through any areas we can help you with. So thank you for sharing that. Anybody else and any questions? Consistent action taken on your be as well as what we do. Absolutely. So you can improve what you do, but unless we actually think about be, we probably won't do anything different. And that's where the be comes in. So thank you for sharing that, Mark. That's great. Okay. So I'm just going to let those things come in as we go through. But if you've got any questions, please keep asking them. So we talked just there about taking action. The question is, and here's the deal, and I'm going to go through a few slides that when I've been the subject of them, they've been as painful for me as they may be for you today. But here's the deal. Who here truly takes action on a consistent, regular basis, or who here tends to procrastinate a bit too much? I know I've procrastinated over time. That's why I've got my own coach, because I know I don't achieve my full potential without being held accountable to somebody else. But have we got any real procrastinators in the group today? You don't have to put your hands up if you don't choose to. I am definitely one of them. That's why I have my own coach. Anyone superhuman? Okay, who's super procrastinator? I know I have been. I think I'm not quite so much at the moment, but it's a state we tend to be in. We tend to choose inaction over action in general. And the crazy thing is, we talk about comfort zones, staying in our comfort zone. But for me, many of us, we're in a discomfort zone. So why would we choose to stay there when action can help us change? So I'm going to take you through something now that hopefully might help help us overcome some procrastination, if that's okay. It's quite a little bit challenging from a coaching perspective, but we're here today to give you as much value as possible. This is where we urge you to take some action moving forward as quickly as possible. So hopefully this works. What I'm going to ask you to do, we're going to talk about K.U.T.A time. Now, for those of you that travel, K.U.T.A is actually a place on the island of Bali. It's K.U.T.A Beach. This is K.U.T.A Beach near Denpasar. I've been lucky enough to sit on this beach. It's not my photo, but I've been lucky enough to sit on it. It's got a lovely surfing break. You could do some great bodyboarding as well as surfing on it. But for those of you that have been or go to Bali, I'd strongly recommend you spend most of your time in a place called Ubud, which is the place on the right. It's a beautiful place inland. It's got the rice terraces, and it's just probably the most tranquil, peaceful and beautiful place I've ever been to in my life. But K.U.T.A stands for something else, and I'm going to see if anybody can work out what K.U.T.A stands for a bit later on. But what I'm going to get you to do right now is, if you're getting a blank piece of paper, please just get a blank piece of paper right now in front of you and a pen. And what I'm going to ask you to do is just, if you scored, sorry, let's go. So what you want to do is up the sides, just go from 0 up to 85 and across the right from 1 to 24. So just imagine up to 85, which is going to be our age, potential age. You can go to 100 if you choose to. Perhaps you should go to 100 nowadays. And then 24 across the bottom is 24 hours. So first thing I want you to do is to draw a line across wherever your age is on that scale. Draw a line and cross out what's below it, because that's time that's gone. Okay, so line at your age, cross out what's below it, that's time that's gone. Then I want you to count back from 24 and just count how many hours you sleep. So if you sleep 8 hours a day, you'll come back to hour 16 and just do a line down, because that's the hours we sleep. We can't do anything. We can't take action in the hours we sleep in general. There's not a lot we can do. We can't take action in the past. We can't take action in the hours we sleep. Next thing I want you to do is to count back from 16, how many hours you're at home, that you currently do the time you currently take after work. Hopefully you still want to spend time with family and friends. We don't necessarily want to impinge on that, although many people we meet are impinging on it significantly. So that might be 4 or 5 or 6. So just put a line down there. We don't want to be taking action, business action necessarily, in our family time, our fun time, or exercise time, whatever that might be. And finally, I'd like to draw a line across when you want to finish the business. So what age do you want to finish your business? So in this particular example, we were about 45 and we've chosen to finish our business around the age of 50. Which means we get all that time after we've finished our business. It's working without us. We've sold it potentially, or we've just got a managing director in place, continuing to grow and deliver profits to us in terms of dividends. That's where we get to do the fun stuff. What that means is that's all the time. The time in orange is all we've got left to take action and deliver the business that we choose to have. Now, hopefully, some of you have got a lower line or a higher line, or you've got some room. Most people we work with, this is actually a pretty small amount of time. So hopefully does anyone work out now what K.U.T.A stands for as an acronym? 4 words. We'll see if anyone can work what that looks like. Well, I'm putting 3 here. The challenge is, if we don't take action in K.U.T.A time, action, yeah, it's about action. Take action is actually the last 2 aren't take action, Rob, you can guess again. The challenge is, if we don't take action in this gap to achieve the red line, unfortunately, too many businesses just leave it and leave it and leave it, in which case our choices become more limited. That's the reality. as we get older, our choices are limited. So the quicker we take action. So K.U.T.A, for those of you that have got it or haven't got it, it's the first word knackers. No, it's not. The first two words are kick up. Hopefully we'll know what TA stands for. So hopefully, I can only tell you, I put this in because it made a massive difference to me when one of my coaching colleagues presented it to me. Because that's the reality that, unfortunately, this line won't go on forever, guys. We know that. We know it logically. We don't always know it emotionally. So getting back to taking action now is really, really key. So on that note, we're going to give you some actions to take. We've got 3 minutes left. Please take advantage of our growth session so we can help you implement what we've talked about today into your business specifically. So if you'd just like to put your hand up or just comment, I'll make a note. Who would like one needs to go to another meeting? This on to us. Yes, I will, Catherine. Obviously, I'm seeing you shortly. So I know you've got your growth session booked. I really look forward to seeing you on I think it's Thursday. So thanks so much for staying with us. So rest of you guys, we will contact you afterwards. Who'd like to take advantage? I'm just checking. Is anyone here just straight away? Because we've got limited time and sessions. Rob, brilliant. We'll get you booked in. If Dave and Martin and Matt, if you just want to put yes or put your hand up, we'll make sure that we will be in touch anyway, but just keen to know. We'll get you booked in. And we'll also get in touch to just get some feedback. Yeah, Dave, again, we'll talk through with you on that one, and we'll get you booked in. And just so you know, we're running these webinars now a bit more regularly. The next one's on the 25th, where we're going to keep talking about some of the general concepts, but we're going to talk about getting your time back specifically. So we're going to do some slides to help you get your time back. And lastly, take some action. If you'd like to follow us, we're going to be posting. We've got links to the Facebook pages, but we're also setting a Facebook group to post a lot of this information in terms of videos, but also documents that you can use to implement in your business. So hopefully that makes sense. So we're 1 minute to go. I would really appreciate right now. Firstly, I'd like to say thank you for investing your time today. Hopefully it's been valuable. I'd appreciate any just 1 word or 2 word comments about the value you've got from today. So if you could just finally just pop in the chat box the value that's been useful. But most importantly, I would ask you and beg you, whatever happens, take action. Choose what you want and start to move towards taking action to achieve your goals and dreams, because anyone that's running or leading a business deserves to get the results they choose to have. But that comes from taking action, not procrastination. So thank you, Rob. Yeah, it is a powerful slide. K.U.T.A is, I can honestly say most of the things we present, we are coached on ourselves. I'm coached on, and that was very powerful for me to think about. I've only got limited time. So on that note, I'd really like to thank everyone for coming along, and thank the team who are on the call as well for participating and for supporting. It's been, I really hope, and the presentation has been really valuable. 63, Rob, you don't look a day over 62. But no, it is a powerful slide. The K.U.T.A slide is, it's not just that obviously the end is coming at some point, it's the amount of time we've got to enjoy the fruits of our labour. I think that's the key thing for me. It's not, hopefully we've still all got on the call plenty of years left, but it's the life we will have in those years that's most key, I think, most important, I think. Great. On that note, I will say thank you and I wish you all the best, and we'll be in touch just to book you in on your growth sessions. So thank you, everybody. Thanks for participating.